guys, it's Dr. Bickling from Own It Dental. As always, here's my contact information if you need to get a hold of me. And if you guys are enjoying these videos, please do hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button. It's right down below. It only takes you a second and it'll make me feel good. I'm sure you can empathize. Speaking of empathy, today we're going to talk about empathy, and it might be the opposite of what you think it is. So let's dig into it. All right, so today we're going to talk about empathy. And the reason why I like to talk about empathy is because I believe empathy is the building block of trust. And I think trust is the number one objection in dentistry. If patients trust you, I think they'll overcome their other objections. They'll overcome their fear, they'll find the time, and they'll find the money to get the dentistry done. But we've got to get them to trust us first, and I think that starts with empathy. But before we start talking about this, I'd like to tell you a little story. This is my baby. This is a 2011 Audi R8 V10 Spider with a manual transmission. I've had it for about going on 5 years now, and I've put just a little over 10,000 miles on it. So this is my baby. This thing will do 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds and has a top speed of over 200 miles an hour. But I've had 0 traffic tickets on it, knock on wood. And I've only had a small little fender bender on it. It just did some cosmetic damage and was replaced very easily. But I've had this thing for, like I said, going on 5 years, and my insurance company, Geico, decided that they're going to drop me. They don't want to insure this thing anymore. And I've been with Geico for 21 years, and I have multiple vehicles. So of course, if Geico is not going to insure this vehicle anymore, then they're not going to insure any of my vehicles. So I had to go car insurance shopping. And I shopped around, and I finally found one of the big names, and turns out it was over $100 a month cheaper to insure both of my vehicles with the new car insurance company. So I signed up for them, and everything was good to go. Next thing I know, I start getting some phone calls on my phone from an unknown number. And if you're like me, if you get a phone call from an unknown number, it goes straight to voicemail, doesn't it? So after a while, I start listening to these voicemails, and it's one of the representatives from the new insurance company. So, and I'm not going to name the name, but it was, but it wasn't Jake, it was somebody else. So in any case, this person keeps calling me every day, and again, I see the unknown number, I let it go to voicemail. Finally, after about 3 or 4 days, I pick up the phone and say, hey, yeah, it's Dr. Bickling, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And they, hey, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm your new representative from your new insurance company, and we like to call all of our new clients and blah, blah, blah. And while I thought that was a nice gesture of them trying to call me, they were doing it every single day for 3 or 4 days in a row. And I said, that's very nice. I appreciate you calling. And again, they tried to explain to me how they like to do business. And I thought that, that's kind of the opposite of what I want, because I kind of want to be left alone. They never asked me how I wanted them to do business. I just wanted an insurance company. I didn't want a new pen pal, right? I didn't want somebody calling me nonstop. So, although I like the fact, and I give them credit for having, trying to have good customer service. The reality is that all they were doing was telling me how they want to do dentistry, and they didn't really care how they wanted to do insurance, and they didn't really care how I wanted them to do insurance. Furthermore, if I do end up going out and getting a few speeding tickets or major accidents in my thing, I'm pretty sure our friendly relationships are gonna come to the wayside pretty quickly. So a lot of that kind of fell flat, and after a while, it just kind of felt like they were just kind of bothering me, So. But again, they were insistent on telling me how they like to do business. And to me, that's kind of the opposite of empathy, The way I look at it, it's kind of like this, kind of like the golden rule. We've all heard the golden rule before, right? Do unto others as you would have done unto you. Well, that's exactly what they were doing to me. They were doing unto me the way they would have done unto them. I think of empathy as the exact opposite. Do unto others as they would have done unto them. So in other words, instead of me trying to put the patient into my shoes, I try to put myself in the patient's shoes, something along those lines. And what does that look like in dentistry? So, we got to understand that patients have all of these different things going on in their life, and they come in and see us, they might need a lot of dental work, and so what are the things stopping them? And so what do we do as dentists? We just start pointing at teeth and, Let me grab my pointer here so I can. Yeah, tooth number 3 is super erupted, and you have an edentulous area here, and this distal molar has mesially, migrated, and in the edentulous area you have these options. You could do a partial, a bridge, or an implant, and this is that, right? And this is an implant, and it has to heal. We start talking at them, right? We start telling them the way we want to do dentistry. We start educating, informing, and raising their dental IQ, right? We start putting them into our shoes. We start telling them all the things that we know. This is your mouth, and this is what can be done, and blah, blah, blah. And by the way, I'm not saying don't do that. Just like I didn't have a problem with the insurance company trying to build a relationship with me. They just weren't trying to do it on my terms. And I'm not saying don't educate, inform, and you have to educate your patients. You have to morally, legally, ethically give them enough information so that they can make an informed choice. But what I am saying is that doesn't make a difference in whether they say yes or no to treatment. We've gone through this before, where the 4 categories of awareness and concern, and when we educate patients, we're just moving them this way on the chart, right? These people were going to say yes before, and now they're going to say yes. These people weren't that concerned. They weren't going to say yes, and now they're not going to say yes. They're just smarter and not going to say yes. So instead of moving them this way, we got to move them this way, right? We got to move them up. And the thing that stops patients from saying yes to dentistry is the objection. That's it. It's the objection. It's the emotional objection. And there's only 4 of them, but I think there's only one. Not one is trust. And so that's why we start asking questions. We ask questions because questions are the building block to empathy. We got to find out what's going on in their lives. We got to find out, what does and does not work for them. We ask questions like, I see you have a missing tooth. Tell me about that. That's an open-ended question. It's intended to draw out the objection. Are you thinking about replacing it? Question. They're only going to say yes or no. And if no, why not? What's stopping you from replacing it? Question. And eventually we'll draw out that objection if we're asking questions. And then how do you solve the objection? You solve it with a what-if scenario. Well, what if we could do it if their objection is fear? Well, what if we could do it with sedation dentistry? Or if their objection is money, you have a $10,000 treatment plan. Well, what if we could break it down into smaller amounts? What if we could do some this year? It's the end of the year, it's December. What if we could do some this year, use this year's insurance benefits, and then do some next year, use next year's insurance benefits? What if we could do payment options? Would that work for you? So in any case, that's what empathy is really all about. Empathy is about asking questions to get to know what is going on in the patient's life. Them not saying yes to dentistry is not logical. It's an emotional response, and it's emotional response because they have an objection. And we use questions to find out what's going on in their lives. We put ourselves in their shoes, and that's the definition of empathy. Instead of us telling them the way we like to do business, instead of us telling them all the things that we can do for them, we need to sit down, we need to put ourselves into their shoes. And only then, when we bring that shield down, we built trust. Only then can we go ahead and tell them what their options are and educate, inform, and raise their dental IQ. So again, this is just kind of a recap of all the videos that we went over in the past few weeks. Our job is to use empathy in order to build trust. And in order to do that, we've got to ask questions so we can find out what's going on in their lives. So again, I'm Dr. Bickling. Here's my contact information. I hope you enjoyed this video. I got a bunch of good ones coming up soon. And so I'll see you then. Talk to you soon. Bye. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like it, go to ownitdental.com or click the link above and check out my services. I have dozens of hours of training videos and I've negotiated reduced lab fees for all my clients. So if you want to get out of the dental chair and start owning your business, go to ownitdental.com and check out my services, and I'll see you soon.